Okay, so hello everyone, welcome to Build and Release Call, Meshery's Build and Release Call. This call takes place every second and fourth week, and but this is the first week of January. But as it's a new year and there are few issues and pull requests lying around, so to wrap things up, we have a quick call today as well. And this call will also take place the next week, and then it'll recur from there bi-weekly on a bi-weekly basis. So the so yeah, let's just get rolling with the agenda items. But before I do that, maybe there are a few folks who are new on the call, and I think if it's your first time on the CI call, then it would be very nice if you to introduce. For example, I think Abdullah, it's your first time on the CI call, right?
Yes, hi everyone. This is my first time on the CI call. I've been contributing to Meshery for the since October now. Glad to be here.
Okay. If you have any agenda items, please list them down here on the meeting minutes. I think Colby, it's your first time as well, right? Yeah, I think you're
Can
still
you
mute.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm new to any sort of contributions in the open source world, but I'm studying pretty hard in terms of learning everything that needs to be learned. So I'm just trying to find out a little bit more about the architecture of the platform and see if I can contribute in any way.
Okay. That sounds amazing. Thank you, Kobe.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. So Deepak, it's your first time as well, right?
Yeah, this is my first time on the CI call. Glad to
Yeah.
be here.
Would you like to introduce yourself? Like, say something about yourself, like what got you here and all.
So, I've been trying to contribute to open source repositories and I've also participated in the Google Summer of Code. I also wanted to participate in the Linux LFX mentorship. So I searched for open source repositories and found Meshery to be very interesting. So I'm here for that.
Okay. Uh, Glad to have you here, Deepak. So let's get rolling with the agenda. Before I proceed, I think Deepak, you have in name over here in the meeting minutes, and I think either it was from you or from Lee. So if you've been working on some workflow, then please post the link of your work, pull request or the issue you've created or whatever discussion that might be. And yeah, please just put the link over here so that when we get to your item, we can directly jump onto that particular pull request or issue. So okay, let's get rolling with the Ruturaj is posting the link just as I speak of it. Uh, Anyways, let's get started with the first item, which is Ruturaj. Ruturaj, would you like to talk about it? Would you like to share your screen?
Yeah. Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is so let me just give you a little context. So we're switching to mesh models for our components, and so we have this Google sheet over here with a bunch of these components. Yeah, my computer's a bit slow, but yeah, it's a bunch of these components. So our goal is to take all these. So we have mesh model components for, and we have a workflow that generates components for all these. But one of our important goals is to also document these in the two websites that we have. We have two websites, one at layer5.io and the other one is at meshery.io, right? So earlier we had a workflow that updated the docs for Meshery or for layer5.io, but we didn't have the docs for Meshery.io. So this pull request basically just adds to the existing script. It adds the logic add add the documentation to Meshery.io. So just to show you what it does, uh, is the this is the repository for the Meshery.io website. So it just goes into this integrations and makes this new data.json. Um, and this will basically have the JSON for all the components from, and the source for this is this Google Sheet. So yeah, that's about it. And the workflow just ran, and it works. I'm not going to open this because my computer crashed the last time I opened that commit.
Okay. Can you open the JSON file again?
Yep.
Okay, so have you also written like the SVGs, the exact SVGs, the path to which you've given here in the work in
Yeah,
the
yeah. So mm, integration. Okay. Now that I think about it, maybe is this wrong? Should it not be in this directory? It should
basically
just be directly in the images, no?
yeah. So if you go inside of images,
Hmm. Wait, I have to change that. That's my bad.
although
I
if you
know
have
exactly
given
what to
the
change.
okay. Can you
Uh,
open the Meshery.io website also, so to let folks know where this data is being will be displayed? So as Ruturaj is opening
Mesh-
it, the integrations that we're going to support in future, there are like 150 plus or around 200 such integrations, which means that you can design those things using Mesh Map or Meshery. You can deploy those things, and basically and the spreadsheet that was just shown to you is the central source of truth in managing in adding new things there. So the SVGs and the SVG color of those particular, so for example, if you go, this is the there's the part on the website. So here, as you can see, like it's Linkerd or traffic measure, whatever, these SVGs are sourced from that particular. Right now they are static, but with Ruturaj's PR, these SVGs will be actually sourced from the spreadsheet that he just showed. This is already being done in layer 5 website. Like Ruturaj, can you go into layer 5 website to show that? So
yeah.
if you go on the layer 5 .io/integration, I guess it was something like that, or you can just open layer 5. Yeah,
Homepage.
on the home page, if you scroll down, you'll see these all these integrations that you see over here. These are being all these SVGs are being sourced directly from the spreadsheet. Yeah, so and all the description and everything as well. On the Meshery.io website, we just want to keep it simple, without descriptions and all, and without any fancy honeycomb things. So here it's just name of the particular thing, like project and the SVG. So yeah, the data.json file will be the source of truth for the website, and the source of truth for the JSON file will be the spreadsheet. So that's the level of interaction there. And I guess Raj knows what exact change to make. And
I
apart
made
from
it
this,
also. I didn't see this earlier. I'll be at it right now.
okay, okay, looks good to me. Thank you, Raj.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is by me, which is about the Meshery test plan. So yeah, this is a standing item in each call. So this test plan, which we talked about. So first of all, let me share the link of this test plan, which I already have in the here as my as a second topic. You can click on this. So this test plan is basically it's pretty non-maintained at this point, and it has drifted off from displaying what the current state of the workflows are right now. And the goal is to basically align them as close as possible. So here you have two sheets. One is the automated test/builds sheet, and here we try to maintain kind of a cat. Here basically the goal is to make sure that across all the Meshery repositories, whatever we have a bunch of workflows which get triggered on a bunch of different triggers. Like some workflows are triggered when a PR is made to the master, some workflows are triggered on as a cron job, some workflows are triggered as basically a release is made and all. And the goal is to have all those things cataloged over here. And whenever a new workflow is to be added, it has to go through this procedure where you first have to propose it and you have to add it in the Meshery test plan, and which is currently not quite the case. Like it must have been the case, but since like the project is moving at such a fast pace, a lot of times folks come and the PR is like it's very important to get that PR merged than it is to first tell them to come over on the spreadsheet. But as we have this cadence of to make things more a little bit consistent, so we would be using this sheet. Currently, like this was missing a bunch of rows and columns by yesterday, and I have added few. So, for example, here on the repo side, you would see Meshery on Meshery/Meshery you have all these different workflows which run on these different conditions, and these are the areas under test or build or whatever. And any new workflow that is to be added will be added as a new row over here. And over here you can see all of these are the Meshery adapters. So all the adapters that Meshery has integrated, like for each of the service meshes, they also have a bunch of tests and a bunch of workflows. And since most adapters, we try to be consistent with all of the adapters, so uh, we don't have anything specific to like istio adapter which is not present in the traffic mesh adapter. The only thing that would diverge is one thing which is that in your istio adapter, the tests would try to deploy an istio service mesh, and in the traffic mesh adapter, they try to deploy traffic mesh control plane. So that's like the only difference that you'd find. Otherwise, most workflows are the same. That's why this is just one row, and here we try to. So this is not; these are not just the tests, but also the, you can say, the like, for example, a Docker build and push is made. So for example, whenever a PR is merged and master branch is updated, an edge release is made. So a Docker image of Meshery layer 5 Meshery with the edge latest is pushed to the Docker hub. So that's also being cataloged over here. So the other sheet is this one. So this is a pretty long sheet. This is around, I guess, 250 rows or something. So this, just to explain what this particular sheet does, this sheet is actually so this sheet basically covers Meshy CTL, Meshy server, all the adapters, and a bunch of other, basically every feature that Meshy offers. And these different columns are different dimensions across which each of the tests can be laid out. So for example, a test can be laid out in a test group. So what are you trying to test? Is it just an installation? It is lifecycle management? Is it something related to a service mesh operation? Is it SMI thing or something? So all of these are, this is what the test group is. And then your component is either Meshy CTL, Meshy server, or something like that. Then you have platform, which can be a local, it can be Kubernetes, it can be Docker, and then different test scenarios. So what we would be needing is that, so a bunch of people have previously worked on this sheet, but as I told you that the pace at which the tests were added, the pace at which the commands were added, let's say in Meshy CTL, was it was way faster than people could come back here, and it was a little, basically you can say, lack of attention onto the spreadsheet before. So right now, what we would be needing is folks to help. One quick place that you can help is over here. So for example, if you're looking to contribute to Meshy CTL, let's say, we have a bunch of different commands there. So as you are going through the source code for Meshy CTL, as you are understanding Meshy CTL source code, as you're using it, like for example, some of these things are just a usage. Like a test scenarios doesn't necessarily have to be something that you have to build, or like you have to use Go test or something. Some of these test scenarios are as simple as, can you use Meshy CTL to deploy Meshery on your Kubernetes? If yes, then what was the actual outcome? So you have access to the spreadsheet. You can put your name over here that, yeah, I did this test. I tried to do this and I'm quite successful doing it. And if there is already a workflow which already does it, you can like mention the workflow as well, that yeah, it's also tested over here. Was it covered in the E2E test, and so on and so forth. So a lot of these rows, actually most of these rows don't have the actual outcome column filled. And the reason for that is because not many people have tested a lot of these things. So for example, Meshy CTL was just an example. So if you're like able to install Meshy through this bash script, then yeah, it's uh, also some of these are like, as you can see, platform equals Bob. So some of these expected outcomes are errors. So if you get that expected outcome, then so basically, while you're playing around with Meshery, this can be a good, you can say, this particular spreadsheet can be a good thing to refer back to. Not only like you can say, okay, I'm trying to do Meshery CTL system channel something. What is the expected outcome? And you didn't get this expected outcome, then you can report an issue that, hey, I tried to do this, but this just didn't happen. So you can update the actual outcome which you are getting right now, put your name around it, create an issue if things don't work, get yourself assigned if you have gotten around the source code, if you understand the source code good enough, and yeah, and then you can fix this and you can change the actual outcome. So basically, the goal of this sheet is not only make sure that like Meshy CTL, I just took one component as an example. All the Meshy components are up to date, working fine, but users have had like one-to-one users have used it, and then contributors or users have used it, and they have found out issues, if there are any, and they've reported. So basically, to drive high confidence when it comes to a project which is as spread out as Meshery is. So if you think about it, so these, like, only Meshery CTL goes up to around like 104 scenarios just for Meshery CTL. Then you have UI scenarios. Some of these even might need an update. So while you're going through them, you might find, hey, on the Kuma page, I don't find this particular thing. So maybe you just remove it. And it's very hard for one person to just go through like 250 stuff, 250 rows, and to figure out if there is a bug. So having contributors use this spreadsheet, and to basically pick some of these rows, put your name around here, it basically drives kind of kind basically it shows that, commitment and all that. Yeah, I'm committed to this particular thing, and I will try to see if this thing works, and if not, I will fix this. So that's kind of a attitude that we have over here when it comes to fixing things. So a lot of these things will just work, like, not like most things would work, but like, as I said, all the components, there are so many components, so there can be a chance that you might find a bug. And when you find a bug, it would be a permutation and combination which is already covered in this sheet. So yeah, that was my 2 cents on what this particular sheet reflects. And like, at the very bottom, there are a few rows that were added recently, which are about from like 228 to 235. If Hamza is here, which I think he's not. Yeah, so Hamza is not here. So yeah, we as I said, that one, we have end-to-end tests as well, and these end-to-end tests deploy a service mesh using a pattern file or a design file. So yeah, these are the last edition of end-to-end tests that we had over here. So this was the Meshery test plan, and it would be very nice if you picked some rows from here and you tested few things. You can pick. So if you're already working on, let's say, something related to adapters, you can go and pick something related to, like, say, let's say, which has the component as Meshery adapter / server. If you're already contributing to Meshery CTL, pick that. If you're contributing to UI, then pick that. So yeah, so that was about the test plan. And now I'll get to the next agenda item, which is from Siddhi, about this pull request. Where Siddhi, would you like to share your screen and talk about it, maybe?
Yes. I have changes. I have done these changes actually, but I don't know why it is kept failed this.
Yeah. I think this. Yeah, sometimes it fails to set up Minikube. Did it fail at that? Yeah. If it failed at that step, means that we are good to go. And did Subedi also approve this pull request?
Yes.
I guess it. Okay.
But
So
you
just
have talked about markdown generation file.
yeah. So since yeah, in the workflow that you changed, you are now sourcing things from a different directory and a different set of files that compared to what we had before. So yeah, the question was that will change of, because previously the file had a different format, the JSON file had different keys and values, and now the JSON files have different. If you go to the files changed, um, if you can click on files changed just to make sure that people are seeing what I'm talking about.
From where I can access that file?
On this PR only, yeah. Your files changed if you can.
My file?
No. On the commit that you have, on the original commit. Can you go back?
Okay.
Yeah, or commits, you have your conversation commits checks files changed. Or the bottom above your name. On the original comment, like that you have, yeah, signed off, where it says signed off by you. Just below that, yeah, above it, yeah, this one files changed.
From where this
Just below this one, yeah, just below this cursor.
file
Yep. Fine, you found it. Yeah, so here, as you can see, as we move from the Om workload directory to the mesh model components directory, the format of the file is different. So regarding that, I had asked Subedi if changing the file form, if the script that he has written actually depends upon the way the file is formatted. But as he said that there is no problem in there, so I think this PR is also looks good to me. And I think the same change would be needed across all the adapters. So I think you can just go, and since he has given approval in one, I think the same can be said for all the other adapters as well. I'll merge your PR right now, and then we can go ahead merging all the other PRs that you create, and this will be the same change.
Okay.
Uh, Colby, I just saw your question. Can you frame this question differently? Oh,
Sure. So the automated test builds, you had said that it wasn't quite up to date.
yeah.
If I was gonna look at what is up to date, where would I look for that?
Yeah, so the source of truth for this particular thing is literally the actual workflow. So
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm asking.
drift would be yeah, so it would be the .github/workflows across all the Meshery repositories. So it can be in Meshery/Meshery or Meshery Istio, Meshery traffic mesh, or in adapters or any of the other Meshery components. So this literally reflects. So for example, what you see over here is there is a GitHub link as well to the actual workflow. So this is the workflow, and this is triggered on the pull request to the master branch. So that's why it has been noted over here. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, fine. Thanks for that question. And okay, so let's move on to the next item, which is from Gopi. Gopi, would you like to talk about your? I think Gopi's left. He was here. Okay, I guess we can move his item below, and if he doesn't return, I can talk about it. Okay, Deepak, do you want to talk about your item?
Yeah, I'll talk about. Can I share the
Okay,
screen?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so my pull request was about creating a workflow to update the discussions data file so that when we visit the docs.meshery.io, the recent discussions for a particular tag would be visible. So I added the workflow, but the workflow was failing because when I actually used, I did not use a third-party like action as Lee suggested, and I just tried to use the native git command so that I could push it. But since a review was required before an actual push can happen to the master branch, I could not actually run it correctly. Lee actually suggested a fix for this. Gemini is here. Um, I'm actually trying to incorporate this, but I had some university work, so I could not do it. I'll incorporate this and make a pull request. And that's about it.
Okay, so what's all left here? Like, what's the only, like, the exact thing which is left? This particular suggestion, this commit suggestion.
Yeah, so I have to use this to make the actual commit instead of using the git comments as I have done
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah. Okay, yeah. That's also the convention across all the other workflows as well. We don't do it manually. We use the same, even the same version of that particular action that Lee suggested. So, like when you're adding
Yeah.
any action, one good thing to, like, one good practice is to look at other workflows, and you would most definitely find a common pattern. So, for example, any of the workflows which are checking out any repo and then pushing something to it, and then there is some common pattern. There are already workflows that do it, and there are exact actions that we use for those. So you can always refer to those in future for future reference.
Yeah, I'll make sure to refer them.
Okay. Thank you, Deepak. Okay, I think I can move this item a little below. I think we can talk about Hamza's item first. Some of the other items can talk about later. Hamza, would you like talk about why your tests are failing.
Okay, let me share my screen. So, can you see my screen?
Yeah, yeah.
So the other test parts, the ones without the sample up, but then the sample up keeps throwing this error, like invalid trait of type linkerd mesh. I tried it with mockups, it still threw the same error, so I don't know.
Can you click on the pattern files that you're trying to import, the both of these? So just before you do that, just to give a little bit of context to people who might not know, this is the particular this is a workflow which tries to deploy a service mesh, or maybe service mesh and some of its add-ons, or maybe an application. In Hamza's case, what he's trying to add, a sample application through a design file, which is Meshery's format of deploying anything. And Meshery also has support for an import feature, which is that you can have design inside of a design inside of a design. That feature is yet to come in form of patterns for mesh map, where you would be able to compose your design and then basically import that into someone else's design. So yeah, that's a fancy feature, but that's also currently supported over here. So you can pass the URL for a particular pattern file as one. So each pattern file is made up of services, and in this particular case, each service can be basically each service can be one entire pattern file. So you can have designs inside of designs through that thing. You can imagine that service is one unit of the whole pattern file, and each service can have its own pattern file. So there you can imagine it, right? So as you can see over here, the URL that you gave, I think the URL doesn't work, right? No, it's
Yeah.
GitHub user content only, but I think there is a parenthesis at the end of your URL.
Oh,
The URL is the parentheses there as well on the. I don't think yeah. Can you go back to the workflow to see if there's a parenthesis there? Maybe just by any case. No. Okay, the parenthesis was copied by mistake. Yeah, the parenthesis is part of the whole thing. So if you go to the, can you go back to that thing? I don't think that there will be any issue from over here, because this is the design for the actual app. There are deployments and services here. Can you go to the above link, the URL that pointed to, not this, yeah, this one. Okay. So recently, support for traits were dropped actually, and there it might be the case that that's what you're getting the error from. The you might not know. So okay, so what one thing that you can do is, can you just remove the traits? So basically, you'll have to make a pull request in the original. Okay, where are you sourcing it from? I think you're sourcing it from Meshery Linkerd only, right? Yeah. So you can
this is a
you
new
can
file. Like I based it off the one in Istio.
okay.
It's not.
So
Yeah.
one thing that I would like, two things. First is the information that I would like to give you, which is that the traits that you're seeing over here, traits were previously inspired from Open Application Model, OAM model, which we were using, and it had traits which modify the behavior of a component. Or in this case, a service. So Linkerd mesh can be thought of as a component, and you deploy a Linkerd service mesh. So one thing that you can do to modify the behavior is to enable the automatic sidecar injection, which is specific to each particular service mesh. Hence, it is specific to each particular adapter. So in this case, maybe it labels or something as enabled. It adds some annotations or labels to a particular namespace. Depends upon your particular use case. But as we move towards mesh model, as it's been talked about a lot in different calls as well. As we move towards mesh models, the support for traits has been dropped. Currently, traits are only used for mesh map, and they are not even traits, they're just properties, so they will be renamed in future. And the thing that we were trying to accomplish with traits, those things would be accomplished by something which is oncoming, which is the pattern. So then there's an overhaul of the whole design. And I think since Meshy server no longer propagates this traits that you're seeing over here, there can be, and yeah, so that just might be one issue. So one thing you can do is across the like adapters, also in the service mesh patterns repo, you can create pull requests removing this traits field, and you can just add in description that traits is no longer supported in mesh model, so you're removing it. So anything inside of like any service, it has a traits key, you can just remove the whole traits thing. And yeah, after you do that, and after you because from what I'm getting at is that it tried to basically it's a trait related error. Although yeah, so once you drop traits, most probably this error will go away. Otherwise, I'll have to look at from other direction. But yeah, it says invalid trait of type linked mesh. So yeah, this error might be from as a result of thing like because the adapter no longer supports trait. So just from the original pattern file, just try to remove it, and yeah, and that just might fix your issue. And if it doesn't, then you
Okay.
can ping back. But yeah, I'm almost more than 90% sure that it would actually fix the issue.
Okay, let me do that now. If the meeting is still on and the tests have run, I will tell you whether it's does this passed or not.
Can you click on the? Can you scroll to the bottom just to see the whole status where we check the whole status for debugging just to see if the adapter started and all. Yeah, sometimes it loads longer for older results. Okay, so yeah, so the linked adapter was started. It means that yeah, so it's most probably trait related issue because traits are dropped. And this error you've been getting this error for when was the last time you got this error?
Yeah, last time I got this, but I'm also facing some kind of like there is a GitHub action we use that is rate limited, so I can only test a couple of times in maybe 24 hours. I'm still exploring how to run these GitHub actions on my local. I found some repo that can do that. Yeah, so with that I'll be able
By
to
the way,
test. Yeah.
yeah, what was the first time that you got this exact error? Like the first, if you remember a day or what was the first time?
Oh, the first time I got it when I changed this pattern file. There was a pattern file here that was this one for install linkerd. It was pointing to an old branch that I deleted. The
Okay, so
one I
and
think.
when did you make that change? If you can look at what I'm trying to figure out is that I'll try to find what was the date for that, and then we can go in the release notes to find out when the linkerd adapter was released, or when the change was made that migrated us to mesh models. So that if you made this change after our mesh model migration, which means that it might be due to that, the issue might be due to the us dropping support for traits.
Mm,
It was last week, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Can you go to the linkerd repo? Yeah, and look at
Here or let's see.
click at releases on right side. If you'll scroll a little, yeah, releases. Can you click on releases? Not the first one. This is not the exact one. Like all releases. Yeah, can you just search for mesh model over here? You can just scroll down. It wouldn't take that long. Just it's like maybe the second or third release. Okay, can you scroll a little? Uh, okay, can you scroll a little again? This was 6th December. Add mesh model support. Yeah, this was added on 6th of December. So can you click on this pull request 437, which actually not on the right side, not here. Yeah, this one. So this is the pull request which added the support for mesh model components. And if you scroll just to find out when it was merged exactly, it was merged on. Yeah, it was merged on 2nd of December. Yeah, so because it was merged on 2nd of December, and I think that you tried like 1 week ago. So yeah, it is most probably issues with the traits. So where you can instead of pointing to your own workflow, like instead of not the I didn't mean workflow, I meant the pattern file. Instead of pointing to your own pattern file, you can point this thing to Meshery service mesh patterns. Service mesh patterns, and you can add this particular pattern over there without the traits. You can create a pull request uh, on the service mesh patterns repo, and then you can refer it
Yeah.
from there, and that will be like a quick pull request. So if you'll do it like the moment you'll ping me, I'll merge your PR, and then you can so that it's easy for you to go ahead and test things after that.
Okay, sure. Let me do that now. If the meeting is still on in like 20 minutes from now, I will ping you and you mark the PR.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone.
Okay. Thanks, Hamza. Okay. So the next item was from one of the items was from Antoinette, and I don't think Antoinette is here. So I'll just maybe quickly talk about it. So just to Hamza, can you write down what was the so that after that we have a little bit of context of what was discussed on the call. In the bullet point, just below your particular task, can you list down like the actions, the action items, one of which is you're going to make some changes to the uh, traits and all.
Yeah, sure. Let me do that.
Okay, I don't think Gopi is here, so I'll talk about his change. So this change is also something that can be, it's like a propagating change. So as I said, like Meshery has a bunch of adapters, and all of these adapters communicate with, there's an architecture deck actually. If you haven't already seen this architecture deck, which is, there's the architecture deck, and I'll paste the link in the chat for the, yeah, this architecture deck has like, it shows how all of Meshery's components talk to Meshery. So for this is Meshery, and all these are Meshery adapters. Just one of which we were talking about just now with Hamza, which was Linkerd adapter, and they communicate via gRPC. And so there are two types of operations that Meshery can perform on the adapters. So previously we had with Meshery, there were a lot of things that were limited. So which we call MeshOps V1 because it was the first version, and with which you could just install Meshery with like just not install Meshery, you could install any service mesh, but it was pretty static, so you can install maybe like one version and then you can install. It was very non-dynamic, non-configurable, you can say. That was the first version, and that was also supported on the same protocol, which is gRPC. And then we moved on to the second version, which is we call the uh, MeshOps V2 or pattern ops or design ops, whatever you'd like to call it. And actually the Hamza's PR, we were discussing that. So when you use a design file or a pattern file, which we are talking about so much, you use the second version of these gRPC operations. So if you go through adapters, you'll find actually these two. There would be an apply operation gRPC call, and there would be a process OM gRPC call. Process OAM will be replaced soon with process something like mesh model, because as I said, we are going from OM to mesh models. Few of the function signatures would change later on. So yeah, so we use we use the second gRPC call to propagate the message across each of the adapters, and that's how adapters get to know that I have to deploy it. And one of the pattern files that Hamza was showing tries to deploy a Linkerd mesh. So when you tell Meshery that, hey, I want to deploy a Linkerd mesh, Meshery checks in its registry that which of my component actually asked for which of my component told me that they're capable of handling something known as a Linkerd mesh. So just like in Kubernetes, you have custom resource definitions and then you have custom resources. Here also you have component definitions and then you have components. On the integration spreadsheet that you see, it's also a source of component definitions, you can say. So for each of the models on the integration spreadsheet, if I'll quickly open it. So on each of the models that you see, so for example, let's say Contour. So Contour has a Helm chart. So if it has a Helm chart, then it has custom resource definitions. From those definitions, we create our own component definitions. So the component definitions have a schema which is reflective of the fact that, let's say, this is Contour's resources, what this resource actually is, and basically what are the fields that you can fill for this particular resource before giving it to Kubernetes, all those things. So a definition is actually kind of a definition of that thing, just like a custom resource definition Kubernetes has. Whenever you give it a custom resource definition, you have an API through which you can access and add those resources in your etcd database. Maybe nothing will happen unless you have a controller or an operator which is actively listening for that resource. But yeah, you can add, and whenever you do like kubectl apply and then you add a particular resource, a particular custom resource, if you already have a custom resource definition for that custom resource, then only it would be added. In the same way in Meshery, what happens is that when adapters start, they register their component definitions. Just like you have custom resource definitions, here you have component definitions. So Meshery's adapters and any of Meshery's components. So Meshery also self-registers few components. So for example, we support Kubernetes. So all the Kubernetes components are self-registered. So when you start Meshery and it talks to your local Kubernetes cluster or your remote Kubernetes cluster or whatever, it just talks to your kube API server, and it asks it what are all the what are all the resources that you support, and then Kubernetes returns with, hey, I support like API service, daemon set, and basically the output that you would get if you run kubectl space API hyphen resources. That is what Kubernetes returns, and on the behalf of Kubernetes, Meshery registers the component definitions. So that's what component definitions are. So, and those things are done on beforehand. So when Meshery starts or when the components are connected to the Meshery, and then comes the actual deployment time. At the deployment time, like the pattern, like the design, if you use mesh maps, for example, this is the easiest way to start with deployment. You can literally drag and drop your component. So you want to, let's say, deploy an application, which is just a service. And so this application, instead of directly deploying a deployment and a service, which is a common pattern, you could just go and deploy a Meshery application, which is exactly that. It uses Argo rollouts. Argo has a rollout resource, so it uses Argo at the in the. You wouldn't know that it uses Argos. It abstracts few things, so it uses that in the background. So like when you tell Meshery that, hey, I want to deploy an application, and as well as I want to deploy, let's say, a service, I want to deploy these two things. So what Meshery does is that these are components. When you click on deploy, these components, Meshery receives these components, and then it goes into its registry and it finds out, hey, what is this application or what is this service? Do Does anyone know about these things? And then let's say, because Meshery registered on the behalf of the Kube API server, the Kube API, so it says that, yeah, there is a Kubernetes I'm connected to, and it understands what this service is. And there is this other thing that I'm connected to, which understands what application is. If you're connected to adapters, there would be components related to Istio and then traffic mesh and all. And the adapters would be the one who had registered those definitions. So all these requests are then delegated to each of these components. One request would go to the your Kubernetes cluster directly. The other one would go to the adapter. Now, maybe from the adapter, it again goes to the cluster, because let's say the request goes to the adapter to deploy a service mesh. Then where are you going to deploy it? In the request, you pass the kube config along. So from there, it can directly go to the Kubernetes. So that's how the whole architecture works, and that's the pattern ops 2, or that's the mesh ops v2, or the pattern ops, or whatever you'd like to call it. And this isn't much covered in the deck yet, but because this is still a work in progress. So as we add things over here, a lot of things like changing at such a rate that it becomes hard to come back and change few of these things, but still you can get a pretty decent idea of what, like, how all the components of Meshery are arranged, even if you just like go through this architecture deck. And if you have any doubt, you can ask people on Slack, and they'll give you the answer. So coming back to the origin, so because I had time to kill, and because the people who some of the folks who had the agenda items did not show up, so I thought maybe I should go over a little bit of architecture for people who are trying to things out and maybe help them. Like if you have any doubts regarding this, you can ask me right now, or I can move on to this item, which is kind of related to, because I gave so much context. Now it would be easier for me to talk about any of the pull requests. So if anyone has any questions regarding any of the thing that I just rambled on, you can ask me. I'll wait 5 seconds and then I'll move on. Okay. So this pull request was by Gopi, and so as I told you, like, this particular integration spreadsheet is the source of truth, and so for each of the adapters, as I said, like, component definitions are registered by the adapters, and in those component definitions, like on mesh map, if you go, you'll find these SVGs, right? Like these, for a service, you have this triangular SVG. For your cluster rules, you have this rectangular SVG, and all of this SVG data also comes from this particular spreadsheet. And when adapters register their components, they also, there is a G. Okay, yeah, this is the pull request. So what we had previously was in Golang, we had this thing hard coded as a map. So the primary color, the secondary color, the shape of the SVG, the color of the SVG, etc., etc. All of these things were hard coded inside of a map, which was pretty hard to. I wouldn't say hard, but like if you want to make, if you would want to make a change, it's always basically it's always easier to decouple your configuration from your code. So this is like configuration inside of a code which was not desirable. So the what PR does is it basically puts it outside in a mesh model underscore metadata.json. And what happens at that when your adapter boots up, it just loads this particular JSON file in an init routine, and it adds that this particular all this metadata inside of each of the component definitions that it has before it goes and registers those component definitions over to the Meshery server. So yeah, this pull request does it for Istio service, for the Istio adapter, and I think the same would be required for the other adapters as well. Maybe for a few of these adapters, this thing was already done, but yeah, I don't think there is much change required in this particular PR. So I guess we can. The lint checks have also passed. Yeah, the lint checks have also passed. So I think, yeah, we can safely merge this one. And as we go and merge this particular PR, we would be needing the same. This PR can be used as like a reference point if you want to. And these are like one of those propagating PRs that we have. So a lot of times, as I said, like most adapters are uniform. When you make change in one thing, you have to make the same exact change in the other things as well. And in most cases, they're not. Like for example, in the linked adapter, also if you'll go inside of a build directory, you'll find the same exact structure, you'll find the same exact config.go, and you'll find the same exact JSON file. So this thing is already being done in linkerd. As I said, the JSON file was taken out from the config.go, I think. But yeah, but there are always like more adapters that there are people to work on. So if I go and check for console, okay, this time we have this has been done for console as well. But yeah, I'm definitely sure that there would be one adapter I would find that like, yeah, this one, okay, this one also has it. So on the risk of being proven wrong, I'll pick Nginx adapter this time. And okay, yeah, so finally I found this here. As you can see, the we are so far behind that even the config.go file. Okay, yeah, no, here's the thing. So we have to make the same change over here as well, that you should take this particular JSON and not hard code this as a map string interface, rather pull it out. So I'll just paste the link of this file as well as the as well as the uh, as well as the actual the PR is already being the link to the PR is already given over here. So yeah, so we would need the same exact change would be needed over here. Although I just realized one thing while I enthusiastically hit merge on this one, my own criticism, which was lowercasing was required. So here it is not lowercase, it is like capitalized and prettified. But as I said, if you go and look at the source of truth, here is the source of truth, and as you can see, the source of truth doesn't look like this. This is the source of truth, and yeah, the formatting is pretty not like exact so I'll have to correct myself, and I'll have to create another PR just to change these names. They change these key names, which I just noticed. So yeah, the PR is exactly the same. We need a propagating change. So if you want to take this up, a quick PR to make a quick change here in the init routine, a quick change just to scrape this, just to take this thing out of the .go file into the JSON file. Make sure that you make the keys lowercase and hyphenated and everything that that Gopi couldn't do before I merged this PR. And yeah, that's about it for Gopi's change. It would have been. Let's move on to the next item, which is by internet. And this was about npm releaser workflow. I think I'll have to. Give me a second. I think we shouldn't talk about this thing because yeah, because I think until it would take a lot of time, and this is related to some private repositories as well. So under 8 minutes, it's hard to cover what's this npm releaser workflow and all. So one other thing just to point out is this thing, which is this issue that we got, which is part of the Slack discussion. The issue was that so yeah, so this is the job that we run. This is the component updation job that we run. And the Ruturaj was the first one on the call, and he showed you how this updater workflow is responsible for updating the logos and SVGs and the markdowns and everything related to website. So this the job of this updater is to run every 24 hours and source everything from the integration spreadsheet and sprinkle it all over the websites, as well as the components which are statically stored inside Meshery. So Meshery, inside Meshery, you'll find inside server mesh model components, you'll find those components. So the script uses what the script does is it basically takes the actual URL to the CSV file, but maybe due to some change, this particular CSV file is like broken. So the link is you don't get the CSV file when you click on the link, but still the integration were passing. So I think one change that we would need is because actually in this particular action, everything is condensed inside of the actual code. So here, as you can see, there is only one step which is worth looking at, and which is all it does, it just builds a Go file and then it runs it. So all the logic of scraping and everything, this is not broken down into steps of the GitHub actions of a particular job, but rather everything is inside of the .go file. So it's pretty hard to go and look at an exact step. So this particular CSV link is broken, but like there was this another link that I had found, which was which I'll post the link to that particular. So if you go into the integration spreadsheet, and if you so when you so yeah, if you click on this CSV, so maybe someone clicked stop publishing or something, but due to some reason or another, the URL was changed. This is something which is worth investigating, and we haven't gotten like, yeah, we still need, because this can happen again as well, that maybe the link changes, and if someone already knows like how the life cycle of these URLs are managed, then you are more than welcome to put your comments on Meshery CI channel about this particular link. So like if I click on publish, it's asking me again to publish, so I don't know that whether the URL will change again or not. But yeah, we need a static URL for this particular spreadsheet so that we can hard code that everywhere, and we don't need to make changes to that particular URL every time the spreadsheet changes. And that CSV URL is generated when we click on export. So when we click on publish to web, and we give it the appropriate yeah, so like this is the current URL, this is the URL that we get now. So if I go to this URL, it'll allow me to download an CSV file, and this CSV file is then sourced to do anything. So yeah, when I say we source everything from integration spreadsheet, we use a URL which was broken a few days ago, like 2 days ago or something, and a new URL was generated, and that URL is, I think, still needs to go inside of the I think that URL still needs to go inside of the workflow, and I don't maybe someone may made that change, updated. I don't think so. So this is the, what is it? I'm looking at, okay, this is, so maybe someone can grab this issue. Just let me quickly go and check if someone has already fixed it or not. My internet is pretty slow at this hour for some reason. Okay, so it's over here. Yeah, so this is the URL that we pass, and if I try to open this URL, I think this is still broken. No. Okay, so this was fixed, and I think this was fixed. Okay, yeah, this was fixed yesterday by Ruturaj, who was just, by yesterday, I mean today, because I just crossed, like it's 12:30 a.m. over here at my place. So yeah, this was fixed today. So okay, yeah. So I thought I can get an open issue out of this, but yeah, this was already fixed. So we are now pointing our updater workflow to the latest URL, but the root cause of the change is still not figured out. So if anyone knows what the causes for when the URL generated by a Google spreadsheet changes, let us know in the CI channel. Otherwise, some of the contributors will figure this out. Okay, so there were a few agenda items that were not covered because a few of the people were missing from the call, and there are a few action items from some of the agenda items, and the on here for this particular PR, if you want to help, put your name on the basically on CI channel, you can I'll ask a call out, and in the CI channel as well as the Meshery adapters channel, there are like almost every week or so there are call outs for people who want to make a propagating change, and usually propagating change means that, hey, some change was made in one adapter, can you take this change and propagate it across? So that's like a free contribution, if you like to say. And it has two advantages. One is that you get to have a PR, the second is you get to understand the code base while you're making the change. So it's kind of a while you see what this adapt, you can basically, you don't have to worry that you might mess something up or something, because the change is pretty straightforward and reflective of some other adapter, while you get to understand what this thing actually is doing. So yeah, it's pretty good thing for newbies who want to start the contributions. So whenever I use the word propagating changes and ask a call out in Meshery adapters channel, it's a good thing to jump onto. With that, we are at the top of the hour, so I think this is a good note to end the conversation. Thank you everyone for joining the call. This was an extra call, if you may call it that, because usually the calls take place every second and fourth Thursday of the month. And this was the first Thursday of the month and the first call of this particular year, the first CI call of this year. So thanks everyone who joined. Happy New Year to all of you. Belated Happy New Year. It's been 6 days already since we have entered this year. So 5 for some of you, I guess. So yeah, thanks for joining the call. See you in the next call. Till then, bye everyone. I
Bye.
Bye.
imagining all you have waving hands. Bye. Thanks.